on 1 second. Okay, now we're recording.
Okay,
so I'm going to be floating here in the background. I'm here. Just holler if you need me.
Okay, I will need to share my screen. I think we've done it successfully so far.
Okay.
But if you hear me crying for help, please come running.
I'll be here.
Okay. All right. So my name is Callan Duke. I work for Sustainable Nantucket on the island, but my passion and sometimes side gig is upcycling clothing, and that can mean anything from just embellishing something I find at the thrift store or at the sadly temporarily hopefully closed take it or leave it, to completely taking things apart and remaking them, or making something new out of something I find. So that's a passion of mine. My great grandmother was a Depression era quilter, and I think I might have inherited some of that from her. So that's why I host these classes, hoping that, you know, I'll get some ideas from you all, and hopefully maybe you'll get some ideas from me. So today we're going to do pockets because as we started talking about earlier, there are woefully well, they're practically non-existent in women's clothing. And there's a lot of ways, especially if you're, you know, a practical person and you need to put things in pockets, you know, there's a lot of ways that you can add pockets onto what you already have, or if you're sewing something to incorporate a pocket into it. So I'm going to show you a few ways. And just before we start, I want to show you 3 types I'm going to be talking about. I'm sure there's a million other kinds of pockets out there, but the kind that I know about, I'm going to start with the one that we're not going to really go into because it's super fancy. Let's see if I can get. Okay, this is called forget the flap. Let's see if I can do. I'm going to do this speaker view. Sorry, so I can see. Oh, I don't know how to do it.
I just spotlighted you.
Oh, okay. So this is called the slash pocket. So ignoring the little flap, a slash pocket is kind of, seems to kind of appear out of nowhere in clothing. And as you can tell with this nice fabric, it tends to be in nice, you know, suiting, and it tends to have this welting around the edge. We're not doing that. That's way too fancy for us, but it's good to know it's called a slash pocket, and it's just because it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a slash. It seems to be a slash in their clothes, and boom, there's a pocket. So that's called a slash pocket, just a good word to know. The other kind of pockets are the kind that we're more familiar with probably, and that's like in my pants. These are called inseam pockets, right? These are the kind you pull out, and they're kind of rounded little, right? They look like this. And the inside you can see, right? This is an inseam pocket. Just the round ones on the side, usually on the side of the pants, or sometimes if you're lucky, dresses or jackets. So that's called an inseam pocket. We'll be talking about that one. And then the other one, I love the name, super cute. They're all very descriptive. It's called a patch pocket. And forgive, this is my work apron, so it's kind of gross, but I thought it would be a good illustration if you can see it. Maybe you cannot, but a patch pocket is, it's just that long rectangle right there on the bottom, right there. And it's just like a patch sewn onto the clothing. So those are really easy to sew onto something you already have, because it's just, you take a patch and sew it onto what you have. So slash pocket, inseam pocket, and patch pocket. And so we're gonna start with the inseam pocket on how to make one. And then there's a really cool video I found how to extend one you already have, which for me tends to be the bigger issue, because sometimes pants will have one, as Karen, you and I were talking, but they need a little extra room. So I will share screen. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. So So this is just how to make an inseam pocket. She talks about a pocket bag, but it's just the base of the garment. You'll understand. It's a little, her wording's a little strange, but the concept is what we're looking at.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today in our A to Z sewing technique series, we're going to be focusing on how to sew inseam pockets.
Can you hear okay?
The first thing we're going to do is match up our pockets to our side seams with right sides together, and we're going to stitch our pockets down with whatever seam allowance our side seam calls for. Once you've sewn both pocket bags, go ahead and give them a good press in the opposite direction and attach your pocket to your side seam allowance.
So that was kind of quick, but she sewed a pocket shape to the, say that's the garment, to the inside of the garment.
By giving it a 1/4 inch top stitch along that pocket edge. This extra stitch will help keep your pocket bag from trying to slip out whenever you are wearing your garment. Now we can start sewing our side seam and our pocket bag together. Starting at the top of our seam allowance, we are going to use whatever seam allowance our pattern calls for. Mine is a 1/2 inch, so I'm sewing at a 1/2 inch all the way down until I get to the pocket bag, and then where the 1/2 inch seam allowance meets from my side seam to the 1/2 inch on my pocket bag, that is the point that we are going to pivot at. And it's important to get a good clean point right there, as that's going to make your garment look the best whenever you actually have it on and it's right side out. Once you get to the bottom of your pocket bag, you're going to do the exact same thing you did at the top, and you are going to sew until you get to the point where your seam allowances meet each other from the side seam and the pocket bag, and at that point you're going to pivot back to your side seam, and then you can just continue sewing down the rest of what's left of your side seam. If you sewed your pockets correctly, then your pockets will look great on the inside as well as the outside. Here you can see what that top stitch looks like once the garment is finished and all sewn up. And obviously you're going to want to use a matching thread color so you don't see it, but as you can see here, it is keeping my pocket bag from wanting to fall to the outside of the garment, and it's also helping reduce a lot of the bulk that happens right there because there are so many layers of fabric at that point. If you guys found this video helpful, go ahead and check out some of my other videos.
Okay. Alrighty, so that was just kind of a quick down and dirty, and I can send that to you guys if you want a link to that. But what I found helpful about thinking about inseam pockets is, like, if you have, this is my very technical drawing of a skirt with pockets, right? Instead of thinking of how you're going to add this little pocket into the skirt, if you think of it, you know, if you're just sewing a very simple A-line skirt of 2 little pieces, here's a better drawing, that look like this. Right, the pockets are part of each side, and then you.
I don't see you. Is your video on?
No, you don't see me.
I
see you.
Oh, oh, okay. So it must be me. Sorry.
Do you need to do like speaker view?
I'll try that. Yeah. Oh, there you are. Thank you.
Okay, so I was just saying, like, it's when you try to visualize pockets, the inseam pocket, right? Like your little skirt with the pockets inside of them, it gets, at least for me, when I think of like the engineering of it, it gets a little complicated. But if you're making just a simple A-line skirt with 2 sides you're sewing together, if you think of it as 2 pieces that say look like this, right? These are the pockets that are sewn on, and these could even, I could do little stitch lines so you could see that I stitched these on. If that makes sense. 2 pieces like this that you're sewing together, and they're like little things that stick out, and then you tuck them back in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. When she was sewing them, I was surprised she didn't back up and sort of double stitch at the base of the pocket. As she was doing it, I wanted her to do that. I wanted her to back up. And would you have double stitched that?
Absolutely. So I'm going to draw a little picture here. That's so funny. I had the same sort of cringy minute.
Okay, good. Because I thought, is it just me?
So no, so if she's, so say this is like the top piece of two, we're sewing two together, we're making a skirt from scratch. So I would definitely back up right here
Mhm.
in these places, right? Because those get so much wear and tear in pockets, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that she didn't do is in that corner, if you want it to look nice and lay flat, you're gonna cut that, right?
Yeah.
And cut right here. And you can even trim, you know, you sewed like this. You can even make little triangles around the edge too, if you want. But that corner especially, you're gonna wanna cut, because that, in having made a lot of inseam pockets quickly just to get pockets so I could put my phone in so I could ride my bike downtown, I have a lot of pockets that are bunchy right there. So that, because I didn't cut that bit out. So I would,
All the more reason to double stitch too, if you're going to be trimming to the corner.
yeah, no, exactly. Because then you don't, you know, if you cut one of your rows, you're okay, because you've got a lot back and forth, back
Yeah.
and forth. Yeah, no, absolutely. Inseam pockets, I like thinking of it like this, is like something that looks like this, is kind of like a skirt with kidneys. Because then it's not so, it doesn't seem so complicated. You know, it's just a
So
little
do you take skirts that you own and cut them open and add pockets?
Yeah, yeah,
I've never
exactly.
done that before, but
So
it's
what I
a great
do is,
idea.
if I have skirts like that I get at the dump, like say I had, again, this simple straight skirt just because it's easy, and it's like side seamed,
Mhm.
I'll cut them open and create kind of something that looks like this. I won't make the pockets first. I'll tear them open bigger than the pocket that I want, and sew a weird little blob on each side, and do the same with the other side, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really nice, because if they have side seam, then it's just easy to sew in, and you don't have to match the fabric. And in fact, if it's like a really busy skirt, sometimes it's nice to have it like a bright red or bright blue so you can find the pocket. And you can also add zippers, but that's a whole other ball game. You can do the same with pants too. If you have, you know, it wouldn't probably work with jeans, but if you found a simple pair of pants, like pajama pants kind of thing, that are just, you know, straight, and pants almost always have a side seam because that's how they're put together. Do the same thing, just add little pockets on the side.
Can I ask you a question
know-
about the size of the pockets? Do you first decide what you're going to put in your pocket and then make the pocket to be as big as what you're going to be using it for? For example, your cell phone. Would you make sure that your pocket will be big enough to hold the cell phone?
100%, absolutely. And the thing that I lived in India for a spell, and the tailors there were so amazing. And I realized a lot of why they were just amazing, but a lot of why they were so good is they copied, they used clothes that people like, that people bring in something and use it as a pattern. That's my long-winded way of saying, when I find a pocket that I like, right? So these pants, I think these are men's pants, so that's why the pockets are so good, but I really like the size of them. I know my phone will fit in them. And it's a little hard to trace, but if you're, you know, careful, I just trace pockets that I like already. I just find it, you know, why reinvent the wheel? So pockets that I know will hold all the things that I want. But you're absolutely right, Grace. You definitely want to make sure that
That's a
it'll,
great idea, to use an already existing pocket as a
yeah, just use it as a pattern.
Pattern.
And yourself, you know, you want to give yourself some seam allowance, of course, right? So whatever your seam allowance is, mine's usually like a half an inch, you know, trace that around. And then use that. And I just use pillowcases or sheets or whatever I happen to have lying around. I have gotten overzealous when I first started doing this, because I really wanted to be able to hold stuff. And if you make them too long, you're digging for your phone at your knees. So, you know, there is such a thing as too much pocket. So that's another reason to use one that you know, like already, and is a good shape. So any other thoughts on inseam pockets?
Well, it just opens my eyes up, because a lot of clothing that I really like, I'll look at it twice and I'll think, no pocket, I'm not going to get that. I could add a pocket. It just didn't occur to me to add my own pocket. So this is a great idea.
Oh, Excellent. Do you have a, Karen, do you have a seam ripper?
Uh-huh.
Okay, then that's like
Yeah.
your best friend when adding pockets, just to
Yeah.
tear it open and yeah, super easy and use what you already have. Yeah. No, and I liked in the video her idea of folding it over and sewing it down so that keeps the pockets from popping out and gives it kind of a more polished look.
Hmm.
So that was nice. Yeah, those are
Yeah,
inseam
that's
pockets. All right. So then the next one is patch pockets. Oh no, sorry. I want to show you how to extend your pocket. This is a little more tricky, but it's something that we all could use. And this particular one is jeans, which for women tend to be where the pockets are really lacking. So let's look at that one. Did I bump anybody? Did you guys have any other questions on the inseam pockets?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. All right. All right, so this is extending a pocket. And I like this because she's kind of technical about it. She does what you suggested, Grace, and that's measuring. So here, can you guys see the screen, my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
You know that moment where you put your hand in your pocket and it's like this much pocket space. You can't even get your thumb inside because that's how small the pocket is? You don't have to experience that ever again. I'm going to teach you how to expand your clothing pockets, so stick around. So here are the materials you need. Get your pants. You'll need some scrap fabric for the pockets. I have a lot of extra fabric here, but you only need something at least 10 inches by 14 inches. And yes, an old t-shirt is perfectly fine. Then some pins and scissors, preferably some nice sharp fabric scissors, a ruler, and then something to mark your fabric with. I chose a fabric pen, but you can also use a chalk. Those will disappear in the wash and be perfect for this. And get a needle and thread, or if you're more experienced, a sewing machine. First, turn your pants inside out, then cut off the bottom of the pockets. You don't need to cut off as much as I did, just as long as they're disconnected at the bottom. Then measure how long you want to extend the pockets. For me, I just made them long enough to hold my phone and my whole hand. Add 1 inch and write this number down. Label it as measurement A. Also measure the width of your pockets. Mine was about 4 inches. Multiply this by 2, add 1 inch, and then write this number down and label it as measurement B.
She's doubling it, obviously, because she's going to fold it over, but just so you got that.
Now take your piece of fabric and fold it in half. Make a rectangle that's measurement B wide and measurement A long. Cut on the line and make sure you cut into both layers of the fabric here. Now separate the fabric layers and fold them in half on the long side. So your folded fabric's width should be half of measurement B. Now mark a ½ inch from 2 of the raw edges, so just avoid the folded edge. Connect these points with a straight line and do this on both of the fabric squares. Now we're going to sew on that line. So you can of course use a sewing machine. Beginner sewing method, which is hand sewing it. So get some thread that matches the color of your fabric. Mine is only so glaringly contrasted so that you can see it in the video. Weave the thread through your needle and pull a good amount of it through, at least a foot. And then cut off the threads at the end and fold it over. Then tie a knot. Now when you unfold the thread, you have a nice big fat knot that will not come through your fabric. Now sew on this drawn line in any method that you prefer, but since the pockets need to be able to carry a phone and a wallet, the stitching needs to be fairly secure. So here's my favorite method for that. I make one stitch, and then instead of continuing forwards for the next stitch, I go backwards first, and then I go forwards. This keeps it extra secure, and of course, keep your stitches nice and small. I didn't always do that here. Sorry, but do as I say, not as I do. I know, super annoying. I will work on it. At the end, make several knots. The easiest way to do that is just to tie the two threads together several times. Now just cut off the excess threads and then cut off the corner of the pocket like this. Now we have to keep the edges from fraying. So if you have a sewing machine, you can zigzag stitch on the edge.
Just FYI, I never do this. This is like over the top, but I'm sure it's nice if you are really bothered by the little extra threads.
But for the beginner sewers watching this, the easiest way to keep your fabric from fraying is to make some triangle cuts onto the edge, like this. Make sure you don't go past the stitches, and also if you're too lazy for this and want to make a smart investment, there are scissors out there that cut in a zigzag shape. They're called shears. Once you're all done, turn your pockets inside out. And hey, it's beginning to look like a pocket, right? Now insert this new pocket, which is still right side out, into your old pocket on your pants. The raw edge of your old pocket should meet the raw edge of your new pocket. Align these edges and pin them together all around on both the front and the back of the pocket. Also, when you pin, make sure you don't go through all the layers of the fabric. You're going to pin the front 2 layers and the back 2 layers of the pocket separately. When you're done, draw a straight line that's a 1/2 inch away from the raw edge on both the front and the back of the pocket. Once again, you're going to sew on this line the exact same way that you hand sewed the last step. When you sew, just like when you pinned, make sure you don't go through all 4 layers of the fabric. You should only go through 2 layers, one old pocket layer and one new pocket layer. The front 2 layers and the back 2 layers of the pocket need to be sewn separately. Once you're all done, check to see if you can pull your pocket out like this. If you can't, you've done this right. Give yourself a pat on the back. Now make little triangle snips into the edge, just like you did before, to keep the fabric from fraying. Once again, if you have shears, go ahead and use that. Or if you want to zigzag stitch the edge with a sewing machine, you can do that too. That's it. Pull the pocket out like so. And I know it looks a little funky this way, but take a look at this. Turn your pants right side out and pull your pocket out this way. Here it looks clean and finished and beautiful. And most importantly, it's large enough to fit all of your things. I just want pockets to be big enough for my hands to completely fit and for my phone to fit. That's all.
All right.
Okay, she was cute.
Yeah, she was. She was really cute. She had that same desire that we all have to have pockets that fit. So she showed a square version, but you can also do, you know, the inseam pocket has around it. You can, if you have, like, say you had a pair of pants, my funny little drawing, that had this pocket was too, the inseam pocket was too short. You could, there's no reason why you couldn't, you know, cut that off and make an extension. See, that looks very, that doesn't look very nice, but there's no reason why you couldn't add a little bit extra, you know, make the, add on to the rounded pocket. You know, it doesn't have to be a square cut off. It can be whatever shape you'd like it to be. Maybe I should stop with the drawings.
I have teenage sons.
I was trying to make it look less bad, but it just kept getting worse. But so yeah, so and the other thing that she did is, when I first saw it, I thought she perhaps had the right sides wrong, but it's correct, because if you put the, you know, the raw edges inside, then you're going to always be hitting that when you're reaching for things, and the raw edge on the inside is just against your leg, and no one's going to see that. That's why I wouldn't do all of her, like, you know, taking care of the fraying and stuff, because, you know, it's going to be inside your leg. But if that's something, you know, some people really, that's important to them to have the, you know, perfect finished edge, and if that's important to you, there's no reason why you couldn't do it. So that's one way to extend pockets. Did that bring up anything for you guys, or questions, or thinking how you could do that to your own pockets?
It looked great. I thought it would be really useful, actually.
Useful.
too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
my jeans pockets are half down. If they if they are pockets at all, sometimes they're fake pockets, and you're looking for the seam, and you're cutting it, and then you end up with a hole instead, because it wasn't a pocket at all. So it's really useful.
Yeah, that is, it's good to know how to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was just saying to Karen before you came on, the jeans that I got sort of hurriedly, I thought they had little front pockets, but they're just sewn down, which are different than like suit pockets. Sometimes they come sewed down, right? But then you can undo them and there's actually pockets. But I think you're right, Grace, that if you undid they're just decorative.
Exactly.
Just seems silly. they just look like they could be useful.
They're mocking me, actually.
Exactly. Teasing you. All right, the last one I wanted to show you is patch pockets. And then I thought, if you had anything, if you were interested, if you had anything in your wardrobe that you were thinking about turning pocketizing, there's got to be a verb there somewhere. But if you wanted to, you know, put a pocket on and wanted some ideas, or, you know, wanted to brainstorm, we could certainly do that, because that's kind of fun to see what other people think about how we can improve our clothes, because sometimes it's nice to have other eyes and ears. So I made a short little video on patch pockets, and again, they're just a square or any other shape sewn onto something. And I would really recommend doing some Google searches, patch pockets, because I think of it as, like, you know, like the 1950s apron and the little square. But there's so many cool designs out there with like elongated pockets and weird shapes and contrasting fabrics, that it actually becomes part of the design. So it's kind of fun to go down that rabbit hole on Google and just see what's out there and get some ideas. So I'm going to show you my little video. All right. All right, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All righty.
There are many
Oh,
different
so-
types of pockets.
Okay. There are many different types of pockets. The three most popular are patch pockets, inseam pockets, and slash pockets. In this video, we'll be looking at how to make simple patch pockets. To make a simple square or rectangle pocket, you'll need to cut a piece of fabric larger than the actual pocket that you want. It should be 2 inches too big on the top and 1/4 inch too big on all the other sides. Turn your fabric square with the right side down and turn over 1/4 inch. So the hashed that I do is that's the wrong side. So just so you know. The top and then press. Next, fold over 1 3/4 inches at the top. Press it and then pin it. With the top fold pinned in place, stitch all the way around the entire pocket at a 5/8 inch seam allowance. You will be sewing the top fold in place and simply sewing through the single layer of the pocket along the sides and the bottom. Be sure to pivot at the bottom corners at 5/8 inch. At the top corners, trim off a triangle of fabric to reduce the bulk at the top. This will allow it to poke out clean and sharp without any additional bulk. Turn the upper fold right side out and poke out the corners. Now is the time when we want to press that top fold. Make sure that you're pressing it with the flap an even 2 inches across, as it will be noticeable if it's not. Using the 5/8 inch stitch lines as your guide, press the 2 sides into the pocket, wrong sides together. Roll the stitch line just to the wrong side so it's not visible on the right side. Press the bottom in the same way, being careful to do so that the corners do not stick out beyond the sides of the pocket. Stitch the top fold in place by sewing close to the lower edge of the fold. Pin your pocket in place along the 3 sides that won't be the opening. Now, sew the pocket to the garment. You can even sew a little triangular reinforcement in the corners like I've done here on the right side, making sure that you make a mark for the width of your triangle so it will be the same on both sides. The great thing about patch pockets is they can be any shape that you can think of. The way of doing the opening is similar as for the square pockets, but instead of folding over the top, you may have to cut 2 pieces like I've done here with the heart. I sewed the 2 pieces together, right sides together, and then turned inside out and pressed. And just like with the square, I also turn under and press the other edges of the pocket. Then I sew it onto the garment and leave an opening. Here's an example of how you can do a rounded side pocket in much the same way. And here's just some cool examples. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, pretty.
Contrasting. Little hearts. So did that make sense how to do the top of the patch? How you'd kind of, like if this was the wrong side, you'd make a little, you fold it over the top, a little bit at the top, and then you come back on itself because you're making like a little imagine that's fabric and this is straighter, right? And then you'd sew all the way around. And I like the sewing all the way around because then that's a guide for how to fold it before. I've never done that before. I thought that was kind of clever. And once you've sewn this down, then when you turn it inside out, you've got a nice tight little square. So it makes a nice top, because if you just made a square and didn't have those 2 inches at the top, right, you'd have all sorts of unraveling and you'd have a kind of a seam in the way. So you have this nice margin, and it looks kind of nice and finished too. So those are patch pockets, which are handy because you can put them on anything. And another cool thing you could do with a patch pocket is you can even sew 2 pieces together and have like a little flap if you wanted, almost like a little purse sticking out, a pocket on the outside. So you can do all sorts of inventive things with patch pockets.
Say that
So-
again. What was
Oh,
that last thing you said?
Oh, so what I've seen, and I would love to recreate, is if you took, so imagine if you made like a, let's say these sides. If you took like 2 squares instead of just 1, right? And you made a little, so I have almost like a pillow, right? But
Yeah.
this part's open. And I finished off this top. I could sew that. And then it's like kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen dresses like that where the pocket kind of sticks out and flaps.
Oh, I
Right?
see
And
what
it's
you're
actually
saying. Yeah.
Kind of easier to get to your phone or whatever is inside. And it kind of looks neat, especially if you did it out of a contrasting fabric. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a fun idea.
And you could do fur. That's kind of fun. I've seen on jeans like a heart pocket made out of fur, or a square made out of leopard skin, for your phone. But something, where you're not trying to disguise that it's a pocket, you're sort of highlighting it. So, and in patch pockets, you can add to whatever you have. It's kind of nice. I mean, you could even you could do a patch pocket on your upper sleeve for your running gear, or for a sweater or a shirt, or you can really, there's no end. Of course, you just want to put them where you can get to them, of course, but
Yeah. Well, because of phones, we just need pockets, and we need the right size pockets, and you need them on everything you wear. So you don't have to carry a purse.
exactly, because now with those little all those little add-on things where you can put your credit card and your phone, really that's all you need, right? But
All you need.
you need a place to put that stuff.
Yeah,
Do
very
either,
liberating.
yes, good, I hope so. Do either of you, and something that I actually did at the dump that I love is I'd get these little, for some reason they often would say like Mexico, or they were touristy, but they were like little sling bags, super simple and rectangular, and maybe one simple pocket in it or nothing, just a empty square, or maybe a zip at the top. I started sewing, like cutting off the handles and sewing those into the seam of my dresses. And so it was like a ready-made pocket, if that makes sense. It's like, I always have that purse on that dress because I've sewn it into the dress, but it's kind of nice because it's a contrasting, I like lots of color. So I have a black and white dress that I did that with these like very festive colors from a Mexican bag. So that's another way of, adding extra space, just to sew a bag to your clothes. Do either of you have anything off the top of your head, either that you're thinking of or that you have handy that you're wondering about, or ideas that came to mind while we were talking?
Yeah, right at the moment, I turned on I turned on the chat and something else came on, and it's making all this noise. So anyway, I think it's gone off. I clicked one of your old shows to turn t-shirts. Okay, I think see, it's like coming through. I don't know how to turn it off. Trying to find it. Oh, I think
If you look at your tabs, you might need to like go to the top left and like make this window smaller. But if you click on your tabs, you should see where the noise is coming from.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where the sound is coming from. It's so funny. Yeah, there's. All right. Well, anyway, this is my problem. I better just go on mute because I can't figure out how to turn it off.
We can't hear it, but if you, I know it'll make you crazy, but.
Oh, you can't hear it? Good. Okay, that's fine. I thought I was interrupting.
Are you on a Mac or what kind of computer?
I was interrupting me, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's you interrupting you. I didn't want it to lose it when you went off. I'm like, oh, she put it up there. I need to click it. And then it's just running on its own.
Yeah, if you if you go up, are you on a Mac?
Yes.
If you go to the top left, you should see a little a yellow button, and you can minimize zoom. I'll tell you how to get it back. And then open a browser. I don't know if you use Chrome or Safari or whatever. You should find the window that's.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, I got all the windows up and I'm trying to find it.
Oh, might just be behind something. Well, anyway, carry on.
All right. Well, anyway, go on. Go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I actually think, I mean, I'm sorry, I know this is supposed to be a 2-hour class, but if there are questions, that's kind of all I have on pockets. I mean, are there other pocket problems that you all have, or things that you have seen that you liked, or if you can't think of pocket stuff, that's okay too.
I love this pocket class. I really enjoyed what you had to say. I've got all these ideas of what I'm going to go through my closet now and see what can I add pockets to. I just hadn't even thought about it. So
Awesome.
it's a great idea.
Oh, good. Well, I will put in the chat, I will put my email, because what has happened in several of the classes, and Janet, I don't know where we could post this, but I've had people send me projects that they got inspired to do, when they went back and thought about it. So if you want to, no pressure whatsoever. I'm going to give you my email for
Okay,
everyone.
great.
Oh, we
And-
would love that. We can share it on social media. So send them along if you have them.
Oh, I will, absolutely. When we did the darning, I think it was, someone fixed a old sweater she had from Ireland, and she showed me pictures, which was awesome. So Karen or Grace, if you get inspired and want to show off your pockets and do like Janet was saying, pockets, 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 you're more than welcome to. But otherwise, that's all I have. Janet,
Okay, well,
do you have any other pocket information?
No, that's all I have. This is great. Oh, Joanne's just joining us. Shoot, I'm not going to let her.
Sorry.
Running late. That's okay. But she I'll send her an email.
Okay, sounds good. And I can, you can send her my email too if you want.
Okay.
But this is recorded, so sounds like you can send that along.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. So I've got all your information here, so I can track you down and show you my pockets.
Yeah, please. I really want to see them. It's like this,
Okay.
women need
Thank
pockets
you.
in their clothes.
That's
All
right.
right, everybody.
Pockets unite.
That's right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks
Good
so much.
night.
For
Thank you.
joining us. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.